Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. Lovely day. It's late afternoon now. I'm out on an 8 miler, going along the beach today. Beautiful out there, look at that. I'm not going in the water. So I hope everyone's well. So, nuclear war. Now, first of all, I don't believe that we've got any real threat of that happening anytime soon. Having said that, there's been a lot of talk on media recently in the last few weeks. Even some Swedish admiral from NATO, from the NATO staff, was talking on the TV. You can find it online on YouTube, I think. And he's talking about preparing, or citizens in the West, in NATO countries, should prepare for a nuclear, we didn't say nuclear war, we just said a war. But I think I know what he means. He was saying you've got to stock up on batteries for your torch and all stuff like that. So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that we should be prepared, the citizens of the UK, for a nuclear war or any conflict really? I mean, I'm talking a serious war. There's an exchange of missiles coming over to this country, whether that's cruise missiles with just HE warheads on them, or whether it's nuclear. Do you think that we need to prepare, and are you going to prepare? Now, let's remember that back in the Cold War days, in the 60s, 70s and 80s, we lived under that threat of nuclear war. Everyone believed World War III was going to happen. Soviet Union and the West, NATO, we're going to go to war, it's going to go nuclear. The government produced a pamphlet, Protect and Survive, something like that, giving you all sorts of information there on what you can do in your house to prepare for a nuclear war. A little shelter you could build, showed you how to do that, told you to turn off your gas and check your water supplies and all sorts of information. And they even did public information films on the TV, mixed in with the adverts. And of course on BBC they played it as well. And it was basically little cartoon films, again you can find them on YouTube, cartoon films depicting various parts of the Protect and Survive pamphlet. So what I'm saying was, in the 60s, 70s and 80s, I think those pamphlets and the films come out in the early 80s in the UK. So we lived under that threat. And then the Cold War sort of went away, and apart from other conflicts going on, the threat of nuclear war had almost diminished. And now they're talking about it again. Now back in the Cold War again, when I was growing up, I remember seeing these leaflets. No one ever spoke about it. My parents, they lived through the war. My dad lived out in the country, but my mum lived through the Blitz in London. So they'd gone through that bombing and the air raids and everything. But they never ever spoke. I never saw my dad getting the pamphlet out and practice building a nuclear fallout shelter in our house. It just didn't happen. So, there's also talk now online, rich people, Bill Gates even, of having these big nuclear bunkers, luxury bunkers, installed on their property, in their back gardens or wherever. Costing millions of dollars, I should imagine, to put these shelters in. But here's the thing. For us average people in the UK, they haven't got thousands, millions of dollars, millions of pounds to build these shelters on our property. What are we going to do? What do you think you would do? There's no communal shelters in our country that I'm aware of. There's no big shelters that if it kicks off and you live in a city, you can go and hunker down in that for the duration. I haven't seen those anywhere. And also there's no siren system or warning system anymore like there was in the Cold War and the Second World War. Now what we've got is we get a text message apparently. Do you remember last year? They tested the system, the government, and about 2 o'clock one afternoon, something like that, we all got a text message off the government testing this alert system. So that's about the only warning we're going to get. So I can tell you now that I'm not going to be in a trace around. I'm not going to be out there in the back garden digging in an old tin hut and put a few sandbags on top, jump in with a few tins of beans and some bottled water and a radio and a torch. That ain't going to happen. Well, I don't know about you lot, but if you live in a city or near a large military installation a power station maybe. That's going to be a target, isn't it? Not far from me, it's an RAF base. That's going to be a target. I can't see the point of me digging a shelter in my back garden when a thermonuclear warhead lands just up the road at an air base. That ain't going to stop anything, is it? So, some people are thinking about having bug out bags and all sorts of things like that, and they're going to run off to the countryside and live in the woods. But what are you going to come back to? Your supplies are going to run out. You can't live on berries and nettles forever and trapping rabbits. Everything's going to be contaminated anyway. So I just wonder what your thoughts would be on it, on what you might do. Do you think you would prepare for a nuclear war? Would you bother preparing if something were to happen? I mean, hopefully it'll never happen, but if it did, surely we'd get some sort of warning. There'd be a build-up to that nuclear war, and in that build-up period, that heightened tension, international tension, we'd have some idea that it might be coming, and we'd probably have time to do something. But what would you do in that time? Me, I think I'd grab a nice bottle of scotch, put my feet up and watch the fireworks happen, and that would be the end of it. So anyway, that's over. Thought I'd talk about it. Thanks for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, please consider it. Give us a thumbs up. Give us some comments. Come on, Robert. I know you're watching this. You'll have something to say on this subject, my old mate. I know you will. So anyway, troops, till the next time, keep calm and carry on tabbing.